Hello and welcome to the HR Like a Boss podcast. I'm your host, John Bernatovicz. I have embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals with the hope to find out what it takes to do HR like a boss. If you enjoy the show, please make sure that you subscribe and hit that 5-star rating. Hello again and welcome to the HR Like a Boss podcast. Super excited to have on our show today a new friend of mine, Dr. Joey Faucette. We got connected because of our passion for driving great cultures and making sure that people have meaning in the work they do every single day. And we are both fellow podcasters. So we have Dr. Joey on the other side of the mic. So Dr. Joey, welcome to the HR Like a Boss podcast.
Man, I'm loving this comfy chair over here. This is awesome on this side of the mic. Thanks, John. Appreciate it, buddy.
Tell me, Dr. Joey, what that means, the work you're doing and the impact it can have on an organization's culture.
It goes right to the bottom line. And I think that's part of what we're realizing. I know that's part of what we're realizing about culture and why culture is so important now is because it goes right to the bottom line. Gallup has shown us that 85% of us are disengaged at work. 85%. You want to talk about losing a competitive advantage. Innovation and creativity are non-existent. You ain't even getting the basics done. Quiet quitting. I don't know who invented that euphemism. That's about the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. There's nothing quiet about it. Of course, now the antithesis, which is loud quitting, right? I'm quitting and I'm letting everybody know about it, but you're going to have to fire me so I can get unemployment, right? When you quit, you're just giving up. And so company sustainability, much less profitability, is in the crapper at that point. So the things that create this culture are exactly the kinds of things we're talking about. Now, for me, in the Work Positive in a Negative World Team Edition book, I talk about 5 sets of core practices that I discovered from Great Depression gurus who built companies either just before or during the Great Depression back in the mid to late 20s and into the 30s. And those companies are still thriving today. So what did they do? What were their habits? And so those 5 sets of core practices, John, really create a transformation wave within a company as you teach these core practices and mentor coach them, because we literally combine coaching, ICF certified coaching training, and this framework to transform organizations in amazing ways so that everyone is focusing on the positive and filtering out the negative from a thought perspective, a mindset perspective, so that everyone's focusing on creating positive relationships and learning to deal with negative people without becoming one themselves, so that everyone is really focusing on that connection between their personal purpose and the company purpose and aligning those so that everyday tasks take on new meaning, so that all of us are doing certain productivity habits that keep us acting and moving forward. And then at the end of the day, so that we're acting ethically in a way that serves others best and says thank you, and really leading out of a place of gratitude with all people. So when you begin to architect, that is, your specific company culture around those 5 sets of core practices, then the transformation begins to take place.
What is the reason why a culture and a side of a business sucks when it's so abundantly obvious that people don't want to work there, they're quitting all the time, and businesses don't do anything? I use businesses as a pronoun, right? As a person. The people inside of the business don't do anything about it. Why does that happen?
Man, so we could spend probably 3 or 4 podcasts talking about this. I'm going to do a little bit of neuroscience work with you here because that's part of my background, but I'm not going to geek out, so don't worry about it. First of all, your brain loves the familiar. Now, I haven't quite figured out whether it's because the brain is lazy or super efficient or some unique combination of the two, but that's what I'm thinking. But you know how you hear people say we've never done it that way before, John? Yeah, that's scary for a lot of people, because the reason Alexander the Great didn't conquer more of the world than he did was because he led his armies to march right off the map. And they got a little bit off their map, and they said, "Man, we're not going any more. We're afraid. We're scared." So what happens is your brain part of your brain's purpose is to protect you. And so it's this fight or flight mode. It goes back to when we were cave people and we were worried about a saber-toothed tiger coming and eating us, right? So you really want to stay in a safe place. And a safe place is familiarity, because I don't have to work when I'm in a familiar place. I just do. It's a cadence of routine and ritual. So what happens is, even, John, when it's miserable, even when the house is burning down around me at work, it's familiar. And so I'm going to go right back to that same place every single time, and I'm just going to work from that. So first of all, our brains are wired that way. Secondly, it takes a whole lot of work mentally to move yourself out of the familiar and into the unfamiliar. Now, I'm fond of saying that growth lies just beyond the edge of your comfort zone. So if you want to grow, just take one step beyond your comfort zone and see what happens. What happens is, a business is started somewhere by somebody, and whoever that person is, her or his weaknesses are magnified as well as strengths are magnified throughout the organization. But that becomes the tradition of the company, and that becomes the culture. That becomes how we roll around here, the founder's vision and dreams. And somehow through the years, those things take on mutations and just turn out to be different than what the founder initially envisioned. However, it's the way we roll around here. And so when you're looking at things from a top-down perspective, which is usually where leadership initiatives start, right? It's from the C-suite. And so you hear things like, and you hear this all the time, John, you just can't find people to work anymore. People just don't want to work. You can't even pay people to come to work anymore. The government's paying people not to work. So how can I be expected, right? It's just that top-down mentality. It's because it's the filter, it's the lens that they've looked at things through all the time. As opposed to a growth mindset, that's a fixed mindset, as Carol Dweck would say. The growth mindset would be, what can I learn? Why is our back door 6 times the size of our front door? Why are people leaving in droves? What's happening here? Oh, by the way, SHRM says 57%. Another group found 60% recently of all people leave a job because of a bad boss. Why are our bosses bad? Why are our managers, supervisors, why do they suck, right? They don't do that. They just want to place the blame, play that blame game and place the blame somewhere else rather than taking ownership and responsibility, because that's marching off your mental map. So that's why work sucks, because it's just a whole lot easier to do what we've been doing than it is to recognize, hey, the emperor's not wearing clothes.
How would you describe someone that does HR like a boss?
Wow. Someone who does HR like a boss assumes DEI to be in play, but moves beyond DEI to DEI B squared. Now, let me unpack that B squared. The first B is belonging. I referred to this earlier. How do I connect my daily task with the company purpose? How do I see my alignment between those two? And that's how I know when I belong here. And I have that sense of belonging. That's the first B. The second B is becoming. How do I become? It used to be, we talked about professional development, right? If you want to think about it, instead of PD, make it PPD, personal and professional development. For me, divorcing the personal and professional is an artificial distinction. It's all personal, it's all professional, right? So there's just person development. That's the way you become. So at work, and I think we're in the midst, John, of the great redefinition of work right now. And that redefinition is capturing the human spirit, what's best in humanity, and giving that an opportunity to become. And so in becoming, it's not just that I know my career path as I seek to belong and connect my personal purpose with the company purpose, but rather I have room to explore interest, options, maybe latent superpowers that I don't know about yet. And so I can become the best person that contributes to my community, my society, the world, my family, because it's all one package. So it's person development is the pathway to becoming. So someone who HR is like a boss, DEI is a given. DEI B squared That's how you become a boss in HR.
Hey, Dr. Joey, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciated your time and your insight.
John, thanks for your interest. I appreciate the opportunity, and let's HR like a boss, man.
Thanks for checking out the HR Like a Boss podcast. If it resonates with you, please leave a rating and review, or better yet, subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, let's continue to aspire to do amazingly awesome HR.